Look me up on Google, search the classics, you crazy bastard. Hold me up and pull me down. It's a battle royale in the eye of the storm. Drowning in the shallows when the path is getting narrow. I'ma ride it out on this broken arrow. Fuck it. Hold me up.
One. Is this gonna be like a new thing that we do? You start messing with me right before I hit the record button.
Right before.
Yeah. You guys, welcome to the last Unfiltered Idiots episode of 2024. 2024 is going out with a bang. Actually, it was, the last 4 years have been kind of chill in my eyes. People think it's been this crazy roller coaster of drama and nonsense, but after going through 4 years of Donald Trump's presidency, this was kind of a chill 4 years, in my opinion. I
mean, with shootings like every other fucking weekend. God.
Eating dogs.
Like, well,
dogs and cats.
We don't know that those people were like, it's like, no, they wrote a manifesto. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we don't know if this guy, you can't jump to, no, he wrote a manifesto as well.
All right.
Oh, man.
So what we're gonna do is we're not gonna be petty today. Today is the last day of the year. My name is Kenny. Knewell. I'm joined by my great co-host, Wes, aka Metro. We have I just want to talk about, 3 things that we want to see in 2025. That's kind of my thing. Hopefully this new year will be a little less drama from the right, a little less drama from the left, but who am I to say?
A little less drama from y'all's mamas.
Right, exactly. So let me just go ahead and share my old screen here, and we can start off with things that we'd like to see in 2025, if you will.
King dog.
Let me know when you can see my screen. I'm gonna have to get back into that because I'm going back to work next week. Let me know when you can see my screen. I've been off.
Are you guys?
By the way, I've been off for over 4 weeks. Okay, over 4 weeks, and it's been amazing. I wish I was a freaking millionaire because I would never go back. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's why it's funny when you tell people hey, do you understand that if if people will actually, it's one of my things, so I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but it's you tell people do you understand if people had good wages and things of that sort, that they wouldn't likely be out doing shit that's crimes, and like I said, I'll get into that on my thing, but it's just it shows you when people have a little bit of a little bit more wealth. We're not saying you get $1 million, just saying that you can go and just take 3 weeks, a month away, hang out with your kids, just fucking relax for a little bit instead of being go, we gotta make money, get the fuck out of here. It's dude, and you see people not understand that this is what some other cultures are doing,
right?
And they just shit on it, and they're oh, these fuckers are lazy. It's maybe it's not lazy, maybe they're being smart about I don't know, not working their absolute ass off until they die at 65 from a heart attack.
So I just want to say this, I've been in corporate America for over 20 years, right? This is my 23rd year in the industry that I'm in. Your mother-in-law, Holly, actually got me into this business. And I do very well. I'm not going to sit here and bitch about, oh, I have to go to work and all that. I make great money, but when you're dealing with people's homes for the last 23 years, I hit a wall, dude. And it was so much of me just giving my all for all of these years. And, I've been promoted several times over the last decade that, I went into November and I was I'm exhausted, right? So I just needed to take some time off. I'm fortunate to work for a company that encourages that, and I had the time and the resources to have people come in and look over my portfolio while I've been out. I've been locked out of my email for 4 weeks, and let me tell you, man, it's once you're go, and then shut you off. It was like I got fired or something, man. It was like,
Yeah.
I'm sending texts to my team and they're not responding because my boss told them not to respond, and I was like getting frustrated because they weren't responding. So I'm texting them off one-offs in the group chain, like saying, "Why aren't you responding to me?"
We were told not to,
They were
man. You're on
like, dude, just
vacation,
go
man.
freaking relax. But yeah, it's been great. I'm gonna get back into the saddle, get back on the saddle next week. And it's been a great reset. Giving us a lot of opportunities to really dive into our podcast. So yeah, other countries, to your point, other countries are doing it. I think that United States should do that. But anyways, that's my
Yeah.
soapbox.
Yeah,
Uh,
like I said, we could like, we can, it could be a happy medium in there. Maybe we say, okay, this country's a little too lackadaisical. Okay, fine, but like it just we can't just keep acting like we are not being worked to absolute death by
yeah.
these people who could care less if we die at
Well, you
66
did the
and
same
oh,
thing, Wes. You
yeah,
were like being worked to death, and like you
yeah,
decided like you a while ago that you were gonna go do your own thing, which I thought was crazy. Like
yeah,
you're like, oh, you're getting off the corporate America train. Like, are you sure about this? And you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put
yeah. It'll be
my heart
10
and
years
soul
and
in it.
like in about 12 days or so, it'll be like 10 years and it's crazy. Does it feels like it's not been that long, but like I love what I do, man, and and like adding my LMT, my
Yep.
massage therapy license, like is something that's it's a really
Do you
like
give happy endings?
yeah, all the times. We do skiers. Just kidding.
That's
But yeah, no, anyways, fellas, like ladies and gents, like just sometimes ask yourselves like, a secondary question of like, why is this happening or why is this, like those types of things when you communicate literally with yourself, like literally in the mirror or silently or whatever, and ask yourself, why is this way? Or why do I do this? Like, it's a really good, thing for you to do. And it really will kind of give you some like logical, um, critical thinking skills where you'll start going like, oh God, yeah, why is that like that? And I mean, like, this happens all the time. It happened with one of my clients this morning. She worked for Jepson. She makes good money. Her husband's the CTO of RTD here in Denver, which is our transportation company. Like, these are not people who are like, you know, I don't know, undereducated and stuff like that. And, even this morning training her, there was a couple moments where we were talking about some of the political stuff and they both voted for Trump, but like they're kind of the people that we want to reach out to, like the reasonable
right.
Republicans who want
Right.
gun reform and all that, but they just didn't like Kamala Harris. Okay, fine.
Sure.
Right. And there was
And
a
that's
point where
okay.
like she was asking me, well, why is it like that? And I literally was like, and she's like, oh, because the billionaires are paying off the politicians to do that. I'm like, come on, man. Like, I'm like, and like, we just have such a great banter, but it's just like, I mean, this is a woman who's 54 years old, and it's like, here's somebody that's, I'm like, come on, dude, you gotta like, work with me here. How the hell do you have this job that you have? And it just makes you realize like how many people just kind of have their head in the sand. They don't ask these like secondary questions. They don't ask like we've asked before, guys. Like,
It's almost like they forgot about the first term, dude. Like I just
yeah,
don't like
or just even anything critical thinking is just
yeah,
dead because
yeah,
they're not like it's like whatever it is like, oh, how does the engine in my car work? I mean, like, just like, dude, a quick Google and you might watch a 2-minute video that you're like, holy shit, I understand these pistons shoot up and down, hit the spark plug, oh my god, that creates like a fire in my piston, in my cylinder, holy shit. Like, but it's just something that if you would just take the time to just go, oh my god, why is this, or how does this work, and just have that like, like that, how like a lot of kids do, where they have that curiosity, right? And this goes all the way to this political stuff, guys, that we talk about, is like, why are these systems this way? And if you're not asking yourself that, and if the answer to that is like because of the Democrats or because of the Republicans, you're just not a really like deep thinker. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, It's so deeper than that, and it's really, I mean, it's not super deep. It's actually somewhat more easy. Really, it's like the people we tell you
Well,
guys the
I
problem all the
feel
time.
I feel like the deeper you get, you understand that both parties are pieces of crap,
Yes,
right?
yeah,
You know what
that's
I
my
mean?
point. I try to tell people like I try to do this without just saying the exact thing at times because I'm wanting people to get there on their own.
Yeah,
Because if I just sit there and do what Fox or CNN tell you, oh, it's a Democrat, oh, it's a Republican, blah blah blah, that I'm kind of like doing the same bullshit that they're doing, and I would rather make you ladies and gentlemen out there really think through these processes so that you get there on your own. Because if you come to your own conclusion and it's like the right conclusion, that it's like, oh, it's the billionaire class causing 98% of the problems on this country around the world. Guess what? You're gonna start going like, oh, no wonder Luigi, a rich kid put all of his money aside and said, "Hey, my morals are more than my money," and
mm,
went and gunned down a dude. And again, we're not saying go gun people, just saying like that's why CNN and Fox and all them their heads exploded because of it. They're
yeah,
like, "Well, what's going on with him? What's wrong with him? He's got a family with money. He went to Penn. He's got this great job." Because some people have morals over
yeah,
their fucking money,
yeah.
and
And
like
and
that's what we're trying
and
to teach
and
you guys.
and Luigi, like he had a very serious back
Yeah, yeah,
injury too. That
from surfing.
some of the
Yeah, I
things
mean,
were
so he was pissed off at the
not that I'm
system,
saying that
but
like what he did was
was right.
right,
Yeah,
but
no,
you know, I don't know. Like it's kind of difficult to like not see his point of view. You know
yeah,
what I
and
mean?
that's why
Like
they
it's
didn't
different.
understand it because they were like, "Hey, we were all born rich. We all went to these fancy ass schools. We got these cush jobs at Fox and CNN and yada 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 because of our parents being richy little parents who
Yeah,
like just shoved us into these positions of like, oh, look at my fucking job that like 99% of people will never be able to get."
right.
And they just thought like, well, why wasn't Luigi, who went through the same systems we went through, why didn't he operate like us, where he just bought stocks in like United Healthcare and made money off of like people like Luigi? And it's like because Luigi said, you know what? There's something deeper here than like that my money and my family's money just didn't matter to him. Probably going to Hawaii and surfing and being around people who like go, hey dude, look at this beautiful planet, look at this beautiful ocean, look at this beautiful beach. And these fuckers will do anything to destroy it because they don't give a fuck. There's like an island of trash in the middle of our ocean is the size of Texas. Like that's how much. And you ask people like, well, why isn't most of our stuff not made out of like you know like almost like a stiff cardboard that like Gatorade would be put into? Because the oil and gas industry, that's who makes all this plastic. Like it's so obvious that we can make things that biodegrade and we could drink out of them and eat off of, but no. And why is that? Because they pay to make sure that that doesn't happen. And then there's a fucking island of trash in the middle of the goddamn ocean, and people are like, "Wow, this is really bad, dude." You're like animals coming up with like plastic bottles in their belly.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's just like,
Well, yeah, I
yeah,
mean it's a deep subject and
yeah,
we want you guys to go out and do your research more than 5 minutes on and I tell people I tell like even I tell my mom this like she watches MSNBC and I can't get through 5 seconds of MSNBC. You know what I
you and
mean?
me
So
both, brother.
I do. I ask
Oh,
people to do their own research on other platforms and
yeah,
again watch our platform. But anyways, we're
yeah,
gonna get into the three
yeah.
things
The
that we
three
want to see
things.
changed in 2025. I'll let you go ahead and go first, Wes, and I'll follow after you.
All right, man. Well, my first thing is that I want to see a market based, percentage based minimum wage enforced.
Okay.
I'll make this very simple. I think it's very um, simple when you look at it and hear it. But basically, just the federal government needs to stop doing a dollar amount because I agree with anybody who has really logically thought through that very quickly. If you charge, you know, if you pay me $20 an hour, this cup will be that much more expensive. And then, for 5 or 10 years, we hear about, oh, now it needs to be $25 an hour. Well, meanwhile, we're just losing, like a half of a percent of our wage every year due to inflation going up and our wages not holding steady. So if
Okay.
you just make it a percentage based, like you just set a federal standard that says, hey, if you're a large company that has this much in revenue or this many employees, like 1,000 employees, or you have this kind of revenue, several hundred million, whatever it might be. So we're really kind of going off, and I probably should have put that caveat in there of like large companies. But yeah, then they're forced to pay a 20% or 25% or whatever we deem to be, a true like minimum. And this is again minimum wage, which would then probably get your average wages back to where they're around 30 to 35%, maybe even 40%, which would be great. So again, this is one of those, ask yourself this question, ladies and gents. Think about wherever you live, right? We'll take Denver real quick. Our average home here is, I think it's right around 420,000. Let's just call it 400. Now, when I say average, guys, that means condos for sale, trailer parks for like everything, right? Kenny would know this stuff. He's in this world. But let's just say if the minimum, was around 20 to 25%, that means your minimum person should be making, let's just say, around 80K. Okay. Which would mean if your average job was somewhere around, let's say, that 40% range or 30%, well, now we're talking about like your average person making 150-ish dollars, maybe a little bit more, 170-ish dollars, 1,000, 170,000. And that's in Denver. Now, when someone says, "Oh, well, shit, if you made 150,000 at an quote unquote average job, then a $500,000 home, townhouse or whatever wouldn't be outlandish." You're like, "Oh, I could probably swing that." If you have two incomes, now you got a $300,000 household income. Holy shit, you might be able to buy a pretty nice home for six, seven, $800,000, like, right? But when we got people here making, I think our average right now, our median here, the average, I have to go with the average, is 68,000. So that's average. So that should be almost doubled. You know what I mean? That should be like, that should, in my view, like that's minimum wage should be higher than that.
Okay.
And there's people like, well, how would these companies be able to afford that? Dude, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, like, what are you talking about?
Okay.
They have
So
hundreds of billions of dollars.
Wes is on a tangent. Okay.
Yeah.
So he wants to work, he wants to raise the minimum wage. All right. So just real quick, tell me what you think the minimum wage should be raised to.
So like I said, I think like a percentage that would be like around 20%. I think
20%?
minimum.
Okay.
Like,
all right, cool.
Yeah. So go to yours.
So mine is simple, and I talked about it on the last episode that I just really want to see our politicians come together a little bit in 2025 to start making things work again. So, my number one item on the list is Democrats work with Republicans in 2025. We'll see how that goes. We'll see that in a few short days here. So yeah, that's my number one item.
Let me ask you though, like when you say they work together, I mean, if they're being paid off by billionaires and they're all taking money from
but
people,
I can't go into 25 thinking that.
Yeah.
Now I'm not going to say that that's not happen, right? Like I definitely know that's going to happen, but
I think they're already working together.
Yeah, I can have some wishes, right?
Yeah,
I can have some wishes, and then I can come back when we're doing the same show in 2020, the end of 2025, and say,
and
hey,
none of this has changed.
That was far-fetched. That was really far-fetched. What were you thinking?
Like I said, fellas and ladies, this is like our wish list, I guess.
This is a wish list. This is a wish list, okay? All right, so let's go into number 2 for you, universal single-payer healthcare with a public option.
Yeah, so again, pretty self-explanatory, guys. We kind of already led into this with like the whole Luigi stuff. Guess what, man? If we had a universal healthcare system that wasn't causing, 40% of our people in this country. So if you guys don't know that number, 40% of our bankruptcies in this country are healthcare, our healthcare bills. So think about that. I mean, it's 40% of people. That's crazy.
It's ridiculous out there.
And a public option would be a great idea. I mean, again, because I'm like, hey, listen, man, if you have the money and there's United Healthcare out there and says, hey, we'll sell you a policy for, $500 a month for just like you to be able to go in these higher end doctors or whatever. Okay, cool. I think the government should force every doctor to have like 50% of their appointments open, and then if the other 50% they want to do all just like through the private sector, I don't care what they call it. Pick rocks.
I can already hear Ben saying that.
They
All
can
right.
call it whatever the hell they want. Go to your.
So
Yep.
my number two is Democrats regroup for their next run in 2028. I think that they lost this election because they really segregated the poor white male in the basement of their mom's house. All right, sorry. All right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just think that they need to appeal more to everyone, right? I think that there's a lot of people that still think that the Democrat Party isn't as inclusive as they talk about, and I saw that, right? I did see that a lot. They were just, they had one angle, and that was pretty much it, and it wasn't inclusive. So that's my hope and prayer, that they regroup, get it together, and put somebody up that actually has the ability to win the election.
Just do primaries, man. That really like it. Just let the people speak. I
You
think both
talked about
parties.
that last time. I thought that was a really great idea. Like, I
Yeah,
think that we should be able to pick the
yeah,
person that we're putting up. And this was a
yeah,
different situation, though. It was shady as hell. Like, everyone knows what they did was shady. They dethroned the president of the United States, which he
yeah,
did have. I mean, that was the worst debate I've ever seen in my life. And I knew that we lost the election pretty much unless something changed. So they got a
yeah,
ton of momentum behind Harris, but at the end of the day, I still think that the United States has a problem with women. They have a problem with people that are, of color. So um,
yeah. No,
if
and
they're
that's
if
what I
they're if
think
they're
was.
gonna prop her back up or someone like her, then they need to expand the message. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think both parties, man. I think both parties every single time. I don't want to hear about this incumbent shit. Every single time should have a primary. First of all, I wish you just had term limits. Don't have to dick with it, but like one term. But if we're on the same system, if you had a primary every time, I mean, again, on both sides, let the people talk. I mean, if you want to talk about a party that has almost nobody besides whites, I mean, I'm calling a spade a spade. The Republican Party just leaned into the fact that there's still a lot of white people in this country
Yeah,
and leaned into
they
men, and they're
yeah,
like, "Hey, men and whites, come vote for Trumpy,"
yeah.
and you're right. I mean, I agree that's why they won.
And
Um,
I think it's really funny too that the loudest people in the rooms sometimes on the Republican Party were African American males that didn't even get even asked to be in the cabinet, right? So it's just
Nothing.
like it's it is what it is. We
Trump's
got
own nephew said that Trump is multiple times. I mean, this all the time. He's heard him say the N word. He
yeah.
said he's heard black guys walk out of the, or dark brown guys walk out of the room, and he turns right around and just says something nasty about him. But it is what it is, man. But yeah, I mean, the Democrats have to like you said, they have to encompass everybody, and they have to realize that there's some people out here that might, that you have to like appease to and
Well,
be as big of a tent as you possibly can. And that's how you win, like, and crush elections. That's how you just
yeah.
start crushing that party completely. And the next thing you know, maybe we have 4 or 5 parties that are all kind of center to the left. You know what I mean? Like, which would be great.
Well,
Like,
I do agree that the Dems are they were getting really liberal there. Like, it was
yeah.
just like, you embody the cancel culture, like you embody all of this stuff. So I just hope to see that changed in 2025. So
Yeah.
going on to
And
your sorry, you had something to say?
oh no, my third thing was,
Yeah.
I mean, kind of like what's funny, guys. We did these, and I sent them to Kenny, and we didn't, that way, and so we didn't know whose was, like we didn't know which ones were going to be similar. But it's kind of funny that we had one of our 3 things were relatively similar. His version of the Democrats and Republicans working together, my third thing was basically that, but just from a working class standpoint. And I deliberately used the word make America great. Finally, you know what I mean, for once.
Right.
And so pretty simply, guys and girls, that you know, yeah, we want people to come together in this working class group of people. We are outnumber the elites. I can't even tell you how many to one. I mean, it's a lot to one. And yet we're just letting them control everything. And I look for a country that was a lot similar to, financially at least, and I don't mean by civil rights and all those types of things back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, because obviously this country was terrible at that point in time to brothers like my dear friend Kenny. But um, but yeah, just like from a financial perspective, FDR and that, like that time frame, and even after that, you had the most amount of wealth was in the most amount of hands. So like we have gotten to a point where I believe right now we're close to 40% of wealth in this country are in the top 1%. And so if we don't start working together, we've said this multiple times, ladies and gents, on this podcast, this country will economically collapse. It is not, it's just not above the ability to collapse. Many of these other countries you've seen collapse were like a full stop democratic capitalist country like Venezuela. And what collapsed them was all the money going to the very tip top, and the working class had less and less and less. And then eventually, yes, people turn to violence because they're literally starving. They just don't know what else to do. And that's why Martin Luther King said this very famous thing where violence is the language of the unheard. And so
Yeah.
I just don't want to see it to get violent, guys.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great point. Excellent point there. So my number three is somehow, some way we get out of the world of lying and cheating, return the U.S. to a factual thinking country, not a country that everyone laughs at. I think that when people from foreign countries talk about Americans, they probably say that they're freaking crazy, and they have a point, right? So the way of doing things today is to lie, 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 lean into it, lean into it, lean into it, and then somehow, some way it becomes the truth, right? And it's like a mysterious thing to me that people can get caught up in such bullshit that are not only spread online but by other podcasts, right or left. Because that's where people are getting their news from now these days, or from people that are like us, right? We're idiots. Like we literally have idiots in our freaking, our name. But we try to bring you factual data that you can, kind of chew on. But we have all of these other people out there that are just going on podcasts and getting millions of dollars, and you've talked about it, being backed by, millionaires or billionaires to spread lies. And some of these podcasts are even, being ran by dictatorships, right? Like Russia and all of this other stuff. So I think that, and it might be far-fetched, it may be a lot for me to be putting out there, but I just want us to kind of level set. And it's all going to be about how our leader starts things, right? And we already know how he rolls. So
No, it's a great point, man. And I mean, it's a lot of these things, which is like I said, ladies and gents, we didn't, send these to each other and work on these together. We literally did these separately, and we thought, hey, and look at like kind of how similar they really were, where we're like, we are trying to, like, again, this is the wave the magic wand, the three things that we both would like to see changed. And imagine, again, ladies and gentlemen, like, just for a moment, take away the political shit, take away your Republican jersey, your Democrat jersey, whatever the fuck. I'm an independent, same for me. Take off my independent jersey, you know what I mean? And just for a minute, assess like how would that impact your life if you were almost making double what you're making now? The home prices, because it's a percentage, would stay the same, because if they jack up the price, the cost of living, guess what? Your wages go right up with it. Okay. So imagine if that was the case where you were making 35, 40% of what it costs to live in whatever place you live currently, to buy a home, all that stuff, right? Imagine if, we had two parties that were working together and not for the greater good of the billionaires, but for the greater good of the people. Imagine if you and your neighbor weren't like scoffing at each other and being like, oh God, you know what? Actually, the problem is this, these people and not you or I.
yeah.
And just imagine, if you guys will, how like having not freaking out if you hurt yourself, playing with your kids, and you fall down the stairs, then you're
Right.
like, oh God, this is going to cost me $10,000, my
Right.
deductible. Just think
Because
about these
that's what we
things, bro.
think about.
Yes. Like, think about how these things would impact your life. And when some cuck gets on fucking CNN or MSNBC or Fox or OAN or Newsmax and tells you, oh, booga, 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 socialism, they are telling you that because they're invested, literally invested in these things not changing because they make money off of the stocks of these very systems to continue the way that they're continuing.
Right.
So if you just think like, holy shit, how would this impact me? How would this impact my friend and their kids, et cetera, down the line? And God forbid, if we saw Elon Musk only being worth $500 million in 5 years and Jeff Bezos worth 500 million, like on and on and on, who gives a shit? Like, if you think that they're going to be like doing anything different, if their money was instead of 300 or whatever, 400 billion now down to 500 million, his life wouldn't change at all.
Yeah.
But your guys' lives would change pretty drastically if you and your significant other made twice what they made and we're not worried about a major all at once expense for your health care. And it was just when you buy these little things, a cup, this costs an extra dollar. Who cares? You won't notice it. This watch costs an extra $5. Cool, you won't notice it. But when you need to spend $30,000 on a healthcare, like you will notice that. If it's $100,000 bill, you will notice that.
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah, I
think about
mean,
that.
number one, that cup is probably about 30 cents. And yeah.
Greatest team of all time.
But anyways, guys, we want to thank you guys so much for coming on this
2025?
journey with us. And I have started to get a lot of comments on YouTube. When you comment, don't delete your comments, man. Like, let's talk. Let's have some dialogue together. But we really
Don't be
appreciate,
one of these.
yeah, we really appreciate you guys coming down this journey with us. Have a great new year. Have a good night. Be safe. And we will be back. We will be back on Thursday. We're going to take tomorrow off
Yeah.
on the New Year's.
Because my Notre Dame Fighting Irish are playing.
Yeah. And, obviously go Broncos on Saturday or whenever they're playing. I don't know if that's been released yet. But anyways, we love you guys. Take care.
Love you
and
guys.
We'll see you soon.
Happy New Year 2025.